Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Foundations.
Number 5, to seal up vision and prophecy. So Daniel uses a word which means to shut up. To seal up means to cause a cessation or to completely fulfill. So the vision and prophecy are to be completely fulfilled.
Foundations. Understanding the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. With Robbo Robinson and Mandy Warby.
In our last program, we began learning from Daniel 9 the historical background of Daniel's prophecy about when Mashiach would come. We're going to keep on going on that theme now to learn about the mysterious 70 sevens mentioned by the angel Gabriel.
Do you know how many sevens there are in the Bible?
Lots.
I was hoping you'd say no, because I was going to say neither do I. There are so many sevens. It's such a significant number. So I kind of am not even slightly surprised. You know what? I reckon if you did a study on 70 times 7, it somehow matches up with what Jesus said about forgiving your brother 70 times 7. Yeah. I'm sure there's a connection. Anyway, that's a side issue. So we have been learning about the history unfolding around Daniel, the Jewish community, and the captivity, which was just about to end, that 70 years. We also found out last time that we were in the time of the Gentiles, which is because the city of Jerusalem and the nation of Israel was under Gentile domination, and it remained that way right through until May of 1948, which is just remarkable. And then we also were learning about the 70 times 7 of years, or this 490-year time period. And I need to emphasise again that I have learned this from an article with Dr. Arnold G. Fruchtenbaum. He wrote an article on the website One for Israel. This is not my original research. Too many numbers for me to get my head around, so I needed somebody else to do this for me. And in the next program, I'm going to focus more on some work that Dr. Chuck Missler did on this as well. So we only kind of touched a little bit on the verse Daniel 9:24, just a little bit of it last time.
You'll only read the first few words, really, from it, but we'll read the full verse now. This is Daniel 9, verse 24. It says, 70 weeks have been decreed for your people and your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place.
Right, so, okay, so there you've got here 6 very specific things. I'm holding up 4 fingers. 6 really specific things here that this particular event or after this particular decreed amount of time was going to achieve. So I want to have a bit of a look at those things point by point. Okay, so the first one was that, so Gabriel listed these 6 things that at the end of this 77s, this was what was going to be accomplished. To finish transgression, and the Hebrew word to finish, or meaning to finish, is to restrain firmly or completely, and transgression is actually a very strong word for sin, and it literally means to rebel. In Hebrew, this literally means the rebellion. It's pointing to a specific act of rebellion that is finally going to completely be restrained and brought and put to an end. So dealing with that rebellion, that sin. What was the rebellion? Well, the rebellion was in Eden. That has infected all of humanity. So there was going to be something was going to happen that was going to crush that.
Well, the second thing that the angel mentions is to make an end of sins. In Hebrew, to make an end literally means to seal up or to shut up in prison. And the Hebrew word for sins is to miss the mark, referring to the daily sins that we commit rather than a specific sin, as in the case with the previous word transgression.
The third achievement that was going to come at the end of this time period would be to make reconciliation for iniquity. So the Hebrew word for to make reconciliation is kafar, which has the same root meaning as for the word kippur, as in like Yom Kippur. So it literally means to make atonement, as with like the annual holiday, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. So this is about making atonement for iniquity.
And then the fourth thing that Gabriel mentions is to bring in everlasting righteousness. This could literally be translated as to bring in an age of righteousness, since the Hebrew word olam is better translated as age rather than as everlasting. The age of righteousness is to be the Messianic kingdom spoken of by the prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I really like that. Number 5, to seal up vision and prophecy. So Daniel uses a word which means to shut up. To seal up means to cause a cessation or to completely fulfill. So the vision and prophecy are to be completely fulfilled. Vision refers to like oral prophecy, and while prophecy is referring to written prophecy. So both oral and written prophecy will cease with the final fulfillment of the revelations.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then the final thing that Gabriel mentions is to anoint the most holy place. And this is a reference to the Jewish temple, which will be rebuilt when Messiah comes. Ezekiel prophesied about the same temple in chapters 40 to 48 of the book of Ezekiel.
So when will the 77s begin?
The big question.
Big question.
That's the $64 million question.
Oh, yeah, and all these details are really great, but when is it going to start? When is that going to usher in this arrival of Mashiach? So Dr. Fruchtenbaum explained that Daniel had a misunderstanding of the commencement of the Messianic kingdom, which then Gabriel cleared up, and it wasn't going to begin at the end of the 70 years of the Babylonian captivity. The 70 years would begin with the decree to rebuild the city of Jerusalem.
And we see in verse 25 of Daniel 9, where it says, "So you ought to know and discern that from the issuing of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah or Mashiach, the Prince, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It'll be built again with plaza and moat, even in times of distress."
All right, now some of the Persian chronology can be a little bit muddled up, but the Bible and some other historical records say that there are 4 possible answers to which decree Daniel's prophecy was referring to. I'm just going to go through them quickly. Number 1, there is the decree of Cyrus, which was issued between 538 and 536 BC, and it concerns the rebuilding of the temple and the city of Jerusalem. The second decree was that of Darius Hystaspes. What a terrible last name. Okay, now this was issued the year 521 BC, and it was actually a reaffirmation of the decree of Cyrus, so it was the same one. Then you've got the third one. This was the decree of Artaxerxes to the prophet Ezra, and it was issued in 458 BC. It contained permission to proceed with temple service. And then the fourth one was the decree of Artaxerxes to Nehemiah, issued in the year 444 BC, and it specifically concerned the rebuilding of the walls around Jerusalem. Now, Dr. Fruchtenbaum believes that the first and the fourth decrees are valid in fulfilling the prophecy by Gabriel to Daniel. The first was an original decree to rebuild the temple, while the fourth was specific to the city, being that the walls of the city were to be made safe for the inhabitants and whatnot. And Daniel 9:25 actually mentions the restoration of the moat and the plaza.
Yeah.
So that's really focusing on the city itself.
Yeah.
Not
Well, that would
temple.
certainly add to that thought, wouldn't it? Rather than just being the temple, but the actual moat and plaza is more of the city itself.
Yeah, and it's an emphasis on security because if the city is secure, if the walls are secure, then the population inside the city walls is secure and the temple is secure, and then worship service and temple service can all be, part of the function. Now, the next time I'm actually going to start looking at some research by Dr. Chuck Missler, because Dr. Fruchtenbaum in his particular article goes into a different direction to what I was wanting to go to. So we'll jump into some of Chuck Missler's notes and research next time, which is really fascinating. But I do again want to emphasise that if you want to read some more by Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum on this particular subject, it was called Daniel 9, The Coming of the Messiah, and it's on the website of One for Israel.
Right, yeah, so oneforisrael.org is the website to go to find that. But we will return next time on Foundations to continue this mini-series on the Mashiach, which is part of the bigger series that we're doing at the moment, looking at the coming of Messiah and understanding particularly the timing of it. We'll do that next time on Foundations.
This has been Foundations, a look at the Jewish foundations of our Christian faith. For study notes, resources and more, see vision.org.au/foundations.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.